Hi, my name is Calixto Chinchilla, and I'm the founder and executive director of the New York Latino Film Festival.
New York Latino Film Festival is coming up on its 25-year milestone, which is a big thing. Well, what was your original vision for it, and how has the festival evolved now to meet some of the changing landscape of Latino cinema?
I was that student filmmaker living with my moms, going to school, working two jobs. And in making this film, when I was fortunate to have so many Black and Latino creatives that worked with me on it. And, it was, New York back in the 2000s, early 2000s was such a bustling, independent, film scene. But at the end of it all, there wasn't a place to play it. So it not like there was a Tribeca Film Festival that existed. Not that I'm not sure if I would get into it, but there wasn't anything that even spoke to the culture. I think this festival is, an example and an act of, let's say defiance, but resilience, an act of resilience. We have over 110 films. That means I've given you 110 reasons, why you should come to the festival, but there's money and there's opportunity and we're finding it and we'll make our way.
And it's funny that you say that everyone has a stake in it, because even me as a young up and coming journalist 10 years ago, one of the very first events that I ever covered was the Latino Film Festival. It was wonderful and great just to see films about people that looked like me, and it was made by people that looked like me, and seeing years later how much has grown even bigger. It's just amazing to see.
I think the reason why it connects the way it does is because it was started by average New Yorkers. There wasn't a celebrity that anchored this event. We literally built this from the ground up. I personally, was living with my mother, so I did it, behind my mother's back. And I was like, let me see if this could work. And if it works, hey, great. If not, then she'll never know about it. So my mother actually saw it when it made it on the news. Once the festival happened, she saw it on the news. That's how she found out.
Things that you mentioned was authenticity, and that's a big thing with the Latino Film Festival. And you also brought up Bad Bunny, who has kind of made a career on being authentic and is one of the first artists to not care about the big crossover. And he sees the power and the Latino community brings. Do you think it's also translated into the world of film?
Yeah, because he's just being himself. And I think that kind of gets reflected on all aspects of the arts, Whether it's on Broadway, you have, Buena Vista Social Club that's doing really well on Broadway. Or you have Hamilton, people forget, Boricua came up with that. You know what I mean? We're occupying spaces in different ways. And it doesn't necessarily have to be all Latino, but certainly it's culturally driven.
New York Latino Film Festival has served as a launching pad for not just new, but also established Latino creatives over the past 25 years. But do you have a success story that kind of stands out?
There's so many. I've had people that have gotten deals here. It's hard to remember every story, but I think, people just wrap their arms around it, and it's crazy because you'll see people who are just fans that just, they'll save their ticket stubs or previous merch, or we see it a lot in social. People, post those throwbacks, whether it's a John Leguizamo or, Michelle Rodriguez or Jennifer Lopez or Kerry Washington. And there's so many celebrities that have had their presence here. And I think it's really because we don't ask anything extra, we're going to be so good that you have no choice but to look at us.
The Latino Film Festival receives thousands of submissions. What is it that you look for in films to be featured, and what makes a film stand out?
You want quality, you want a balance of the program. Yes, you want exclusives, you want something that no one's seen before, but also, we have a good programming team. And so, I trust in our programmers. They sift through everything. We get stuff from, definitely all over the world. And we get a lot of content. But, we're really it's a pretty exciting program. We put our hearts into it each and every year.
What are some of the topics that are explored in the festival this year?
Some of it, yes, there's immigration stories, but I think there's, interesting stories and not just linear. We have one film that is about it's a trans immigrant story, right? And, what is that person going through in this moment in time? And then Matt Bills to Pay. It won an award at Sundance, young Dominican filmmaker, that's, presenting it. And then Michelle Rodriguez, we're honoring her with the Impact Award, and we're doing an encore screening and cast reunion of Girl Fight, which is the first film that ever closed the New York Latino Film Festival.
What are your hopes and goals for the next 25 years? And do you have a piece of advice for aspiring Latino filmmakers?
I don't know where my life would be in the next 25 years. I'm not trying to think that far right now. But I just pray that it's still alive, and it grows even further than I could have imagined. And that there continues to be new blood that fuels it. And, what I say to the next generation, siga pa'lante. We got to keep going. And really, just be persistent, have discipline on ourselves to make it happen, and just to keep going, because this is a marathon, it's not a sprint.